Welcome to my channel. My name is Rafaela and today's journal entry is titled The Inner Compass. This piece is a reflection on what it means to truly trust ourselves, to follow that quiet guidance that we have within, even when it feels easier or safer to seek out the approval of others. I've become rather aware of how often I would go into the outside world looking for reassurance and how I created a habit out of that, one that slowly chipped away at the connection that I had to my own intuition. So this journal entry explores the discomfort of letting go of external validations and the quiet strength that comes from choosing to listen inwards. So if you've ever felt torn between what you feel and what others think, then I would like to think that this journal entry caters to you as the audience because you have something to relate to. And in doing so, I hope to bring you some comfort. And if you are someone that finds no relation to this journal entry, then at least I hope to evoke some sort of inspiration that you do take time to connect to your inner compass. So let's get right into the reading part. As an important part of personal growth, I believe it's essential to sit with yourself, to spend quiet, intimate moments connecting to your inner world. I've always felt that the answers we seek are already within us, but so often we rush outwards, looking for approval, reassurance, or advice, hoping that someone else can confirm what we already know deep down. In doing so, we come to the conclusion of abandoning ourselves, not in loud, obvious ways, but in those subtle moments where hesitation creeps in and our trust in our own voice wavers. Now, to be clear, before we continue, I do want to mention that there is nothing wrong with seeking support. There is nothing wrong about going into the outside world and asking people of their opinions and taking those opinions into consideration. But there is a difference between leaning on others and leaning away from yourself. There's a kind of quiet dependency that forms when we constantly look to others to reflect our truth back onto us. Without realizing it, we begin to filter our choices and thoughts through someone else's lens, through someone else's perspective, pausing before we speak, second-guessing our feelings, and waiting for a sign that it's okay to proceed, waiting for the outside world to give us a green light. So then reassurance becomes a habit, not just comfort, and over time it dulls the sharpness of our own instincts. It's easy to confuse support with certainty, but they're not the same thing. I was reminded of this in a very real way during a pivotal time in my life. Back when I was living in London, me and my boyfriend at the time were navigating a long-distance relationship. I used to travel back to Romania during my university break in summer or winter to visit him. But one winter I had reached a point where I could no longer ignore what I truly wanted. I didn't want a love sustained by visits and by small moments that would end up in me leaving. I wanted to build a life together. I dreamt of marriage and building a family and creating something stable and shared. And I knew that none of those things could grow across long distance. So I made a decision that felt completely aligned with my heart. And although it was aligned with my heart, it wasn't an easy one, but I would leave London behind. And that also meant leaving my family and my studies and the city that I called home for over 15 years. Now, when I shared this decision, the responses were split. Some supported me wholeheartedly, placing trust in my choice and wishing me joy along the way, while others focused on the practicalities or the reality of things, questioning where I would live, where I would work, when they would see me again, and asked if I was really ready to give out the opportunities that London held for me. But the thing was, I had already answered those questions for myself, and my choice wasn't impulsive, but it was intuitive. And following that inner compass led me to where I am now, married, building a future, and working towards a life that isn't just mine, but is shared with the person that I love. Had I not followed my inner compass, had I not placed trust within myself, I wouldn't have been here today. And I would like to point out that when our inner compass starts to speak to us so strongly, when it brings us to a crossroad of, do I take this or do I not? Do I follow this or do I ignore it? There's a contradiction in reactions, where one group of people may encourage you to follow out your path because it's in your heart and it's what you feel called to do, and others may, out of worry or out of fear or out of projecting their own insecurities onto you, be rather doubtful of you going down that path. And at times you may even disappoint those people. I think a lot of people were disappointed in me with my decision when I decided to let them know and take action on it, because I lived in Romania till I was 7 years old, and then I moved to London, and London doesn't compare to Romania. The opportunities that I had in London, I may never have gotten if I lived in Romania my whole life. So I feel like I had so many doors that I could open, and I choose to not open a single one. That must have been really disappointing for some people. And it may have ruined the version of me that they had in their heads. But nevertheless, it taught me something lasting, that trusting yourself doesn't mean shutting others out or going through things alone, but it means standing firm in your truth, even when it feels vulnerable or unpopular. And there's a big difference between isolating yourself and cultivating inner authority, which I felt like I did, because it was the kind of confidence that allowed me to listen to all those opinions, specifically the negative ones, without losing my own voice in the process of them. Support is valuable when it uplifts and reflects your strength, not when it replaces your knowing. When you trust your inner compass, relationships shift from being about seeking approval to becoming spaces where you can show up fully, unapologetically as yourself. It's not about closing the door on connection, but about opening it on your own terms. Now, for anyone who wants to rebuild self-trust, it can be especially difficult after years of second-guessing yourself. But it often starts with the smallest of steps. It might look like journaling your feelings before picking up the phone and calling for advice, or sitting with a difficult decision for a few days instead of rushing to fix the discomfort. It could be as simple as making one small choice without asking of anyone's opinion. And over time, these acts build a quiet rhythm of self-reliance, a sense of I can hold this. And affirmations like I know what's right for me begin to feel less like hope, but more like home and more like truth. And slowly the noise of the outside opinions fade, making space for the clarity that was always there, waiting for you to return to it. So whether you are on your path, whether you are at a crossroads, sitting in silence, or learning to hear your own voice again, I hope this reminds you that your inner compass is always there. Even when it feels quiet, even when it's been ignored for a while, it never stops pointing you towards what's right for you. Trusting yourself isn't always the easiest path, but it is the most honest one. And with each small act of self-trust, you come home to yourself a little bit more. So that is it for me today. I would like to thank you all for being here and for listening and for watching. And I hope that this journal entry will inspire you to connect to that inner compass. Again, as I said at the beginning of this video, to place trust within yourself even when uncertainty rises, and to trust that all answers that you seek already live so deeply within you. You just need to take a moment and seek them out, because if we constantly go to the outside world for approval and reassurance, can we really call our life our own if we're not really the ones living it, if our every action and decision is based on the approval of someone else? So yeah, that is it for me today. I hope you all take care and have a lovely day. Bye bye.